Hashtag Part 1. First Contact Gone Wrong. The massive alien ship hung in Earth's orbit like a dark cloud on a sunny day. Inside the vessel's command center, High Commander Rax of the Stellar Alliance stood tall, his four arms crossed behind his back as he watched the blue planet rotate slowly beneath them. His species had conquered or peacefully integrated dozens of worlds into their alliance, but something about this planet made his scales itch. Primitive technology detected on all continents, reported his science officer. Their most advanced achievements appear to be simple space stations and primitive satellites. No signs of faster-than-light travel capabilities. Rax nodded, satisfied with the assessment. These humans would be easy to bring into the fold. Like all the others before them, they would bow to the superior civilization of the Stellar Alliance. Send the standard first contact package, he ordered. Show them our might. They'll understand their place quickly enough. Down on Earth, in the underground command center of the Global Defense Council, things were far from primitive. General James Miller watched multiple holographic displays showing the alien vessel's position. His weathered face remained calm, but his eyes sparkled with concern as he addressed the world leaders on his screens. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice steady, "the moment we've prepared for has arrived. The vessel matches none of our known allies' signatures. This is a first contact scenario, but not with any of the friendly species we've been working with." The President of the United World Council leaned forward in her chair. "What are they doing, General?" "Broadcasting, ma'am. Their message is being transmitted globally." Miller pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. The alien that appeared was tall, with gleaming scales and multiple arms. Its voice boomed through the translation software. "People of Earth, we are the Stellar Alliance, the most advanced civilization in this sector of the galaxy. We have come to offer you the generous opportunity to join our alliance as a protectorate species. Resist, and we will be forced to show you the error of your ways. Accept, and we will guide you towards civilization." The room fell silent. The Chinese premier spoke first. "They think we're primitives." "Yes," Miller replied, allowing himself a small smile. 50 years of hiding our true capabilities have paid off. They have no idea about the defense grid, the underground cities, or our own space fleet. They can't detect any of it." The alien message continued. "You have 24 hours to surrender your governing authority to the Stellar Alliance. This is a generous offer. Resistance would be unfortunate." The Indian Prime Minister's face hardened on her screen. "They're threatening us while pretending to be diplomatic. Classic colonizer tactics." "Shall we show them our real technology?" Miller asked, his hand hovering over another control panel. "Not yet," the world president said firmly. "Let's see how far they're willing to go with this charade. Keep our defense systems hidden but ready. If they make any aggressive moves, we'll give them a small demonstration." In space, Commander Rax was growing impatient. His sensors showed increased communications between Earth's nations, but no sign of panic or chaos that usually followed first contact with primitive species. "They're too calm," he muttered to himself. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "we're detecting some unusual energy readings from their larger satellites. They don't match their visible technology level." "Impossible." Rax dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. "They're barely space capable. Prepare the intimidation display. Launch fighters in formation Alpha. Let's show them what real space power looks like." As the Alliance fighters deployed, forming an impressive array above Earth's atmosphere, the humans below continued their careful observation. In the command center, General Miller watched the alien ships with growing disgust. "They're putting on a show," he reported to the world leaders. "Classic gunboat diplomacy. They think they're dealing with primitives who will be amazed by their ships." The world president's voice was cold when she spoke again. "They came to our home, threatened our people, and now they're trying to intimidate us with this display. I think it's time we taught them a lesson about making assumptions." Miller nodded, his fingers dancing across his control panel. "Should I activate the outer defense grid? Just enough to let them know they're not dealing with primitives." "Do it," the president ordered. "Let's show our uninvited guests that humanity doesn't appreciate threats. No matter how diplomatic, they tried to make them sound. As General Miller's hand moved toward the activation switch, no one in the alien fleet had any idea that their entire understanding of Earth was about to change dramatically. They were about to learn why making assumptions about humanity was a dangerous mistake. The alien fleet spread out in Earth's orbit, their dark hulls blocking the stars. Commander Rax watched with growing anger as his message went unanswered. 6 hours had passed since their ultimatum, and the humans hadn't even tried to respond. "Status report," he barked at his crew. "Sir, the humans are just going about their day," his officer replied. "Their television shows are still running. Their people are still working. They're acting like we're not even here." Rax slammed his fist on his command chair. This wasn't how primitive species were supposed to react. They should be panicking, fighting among themselves, or begging for mercy. But the humans were ignoring them. "Launch the first wave," he ordered. "Target their largest satellite network. Let's see how calm they stay when we destroy their communication systems." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in Earth's hidden command center, Captain Tom Walker watched the alien ships prepare for attack. His calm blue eyes studied the tactical display as red dots representing alien fighters moved toward Earth's satellites. "They took the bait," he said to his crew. "They're going after the decoy satellites." The world president's voice came through his secure channel. "You have permission to proceed, Captain. Show them what happens when they threaten Earth." Tom nodded and pressed his hand against the DNA scanner. Around the world, hidden defense platforms powered up. They looked like normal communication satellites from the outside, but inside each one was a weapon that humanity had spent decades perfecting. In space, the alien fighters closed in on their targets. Commander Rax watched with satisfaction as his ships moved into firing position. "Let's show these primitives what real power looks like," he said. The first alien fighter fired its weapons. Nothing happened. The energy blast hit an invisible shield and disappeared. The alien pilot tried again. And again. Each shot vanished into nothing. "Impossible," Rax shouted. "They don't have shield technology. Their satellites are primitive." "On Earth," Tom allowed himself a small smile. "Defense grid holding steady," he reported. "Shall we return the favor?" "Proceed," the president replied. "One warning shot. Make it count." Tom's fingers danced across his control panel. High above Earth, a single satellite turned slightly. It looked old and weathered on the outside, exactly like the kind of satellite humans would have built 30 years ago. But inside, it held humanity's newest weapon. "Target their lead fighter," Tom ordered. "Minimal power. We don't want to destroy them. Yet." The satellite fired. A beam of pure white light shot out, so fast the aliens didn't even have time to react. It hit the lead fighter, and the ship's systems went dark instantly. The fighter started drifting, completely powerless. Panic erupted on the alien command ship. "How?" Rax demanded. "Their technology is primitive. We scanned them." Another voice came through all their communications channels. It was Tom, speaking calmly and clearly. "This is Earth Defense Force Captain Tom Walker to Alien Fleet. That was a warning shot using less than 1% of that weapon's power. We have 30 more satellites just like it, all targeting your ships right now." The alien commander stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Where there had been seemingly harmless satellites moments before, his sensors now showed weapons platforms. Advanced ones. More advanced than anything the Alliance had. "You have 1 hour to leave Earth's orbit," Tom continued. "If you're still here when that time is up, we'll show you what these weapons can really do. And trust me, you don't want to see that." The alien fighters retreated quickly, returning to their mother ships. Commander Rax stood frozen, his world turned upside down. His species had spent centuries believing they were the most advanced civilization in this part of space. But in just a few minutes, a supposedly primitive race had proved them completely wrong. "Orders, sir?" his second-in-command asked nervously. Rax looked down at Earth, seeing it with new eyes. They had completely misjudged these humans, and he had a feeling this was just the beginning of their surprises. "Prepare to withdraw," he ordered quietly. and send a message to Alliance Command. Tell them we've made a terrible mistake." Admiral Gray of the Stellar Alliance paced around the war room on his flagship. The holographic display showed Earth rotating slowly in the center, surrounded by data streams that made no sense to him. His tentacles twitched with anger as he read the report from Commander Rax's failed mission again. "Impossible," he muttered. "No species develops shield technology before mastering space travel. These humans must have stolen it." His war council sat around the table, each member from a different alien race that made up the Alliance. None of them wanted to believe that a young species could have advanced so quickly in secret. "The data is clear," said his science officer, pointing at the scans. "Their satellites contained weapons more advanced than our best designs. But we detected no factories in space, no shipyards. Where did they build these weapons?" Admiral Gray stopped pacing. "Underground," he said firmly. "They must have hidden everything underground or underwater. No wonder our scans missed it." He turned to his tactical officer. "How many ships can we gather for an attack fleet?" 300 warships within 2 days, Admiral. The humans only showed 30 defense platforms." The Admiral's face twisted into what his species considered a smile. "Then we'll overwhelm them with numbers. Even advanced weapons can't stop an entire fleet." On Earth, things were far from quiet. In the underwater base named Deep Harbor, General Miller watched the Alliance's ships gathering at the edge of the solar system. Beside him, Captain Tom Walker studied the incoming data with growing concern. "They're bringing a lot more ships this time, sir," Tom said. "Our defense satellites won't be enough." Miller nodded. "They were never meant to be our only defense. Just the first surprise." He pressed a button on his command console. "It's time for the second one." Deep beneath every ocean on Earth, massive doors began to open. Hidden bases that had been built in secret for 50 years activated their systems. Warships that humanity had constructed in complete secrecy powered up their engines. "All ships report ready," Tom announced. "The Alliance still hasn't detected them." "Good," Miller replied. "Keep them hidden until my signal. Let's see what our uninvited guests do first." In space, Admiral Gray watched with satisfaction as his fleet assembled. 300 ships, the largest fleet the Alliance had gathered in 50 years. Their weapons could reduce a planet's surface to ash. Surely the humans would surrender when faced with such power. "Send the message," he ordered. The transmission went out to every device on Earth. "People of Earth, your deception and hidden weapons have been noted. Surrender your technology to the Alliance immediately, or we will be forced to take it. You have 1 hour to comply." In Deep Harbor, the world president's voice came through the command channel. "They still think they have the advantage. General Miller, is everything ready?" "Yes, man. All ships are in position. The Alliance's scans still can't penetrate our stealth systems." "Then let's show them what humanity can really do," the president said. "You have permission to launch." Miller turned to his communication officer. "Send this message to the Alliance fleet." Admiral Gray was counting down the minutes until his attack could begin when a new transmission reached his ship. The human's voice was calm and almost seemed amused. "Admiral Gray of the Stellar Alliance, you seem to think we showed you all our cards during the first encounter. That was just our orbital defense grid. Perhaps you'd like to see our actual fleet." Suddenly, the Admiral's tactical display exploded with new contacts. Rising from Earth's oceans came 200 ships, each one larger than his own flagship. Their designs were completely alien to him, with smooth lines and weapon systems his scanners couldn't even identify. "By the stars," his tactical officer whispered. "Those ships, they're giving off more power than anything we've ever seen." Admiral Gray stood frozen, watching as the human fleet took up defensive positions around their planet. They had hidden their true strength perfectly, waiting until the Alliance committed their forces before revealing their power. "Admiral," his science officer said quietly, "I don't think they stole this technology. I think they've been preparing for this moment for a very long time." For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Gray felt true fear. He had just led the Alliance fleet into what might be the biggest mistake in their history. The world held its breath. Two fleets faced each other in space, 300 Alliance ships against Earth's 200 defenders. But General Miller knew the real battle hadn't even started yet. He looked at the digital countdown on his screen. 5 minutes until humanity's greatest achievement would reveal itself. All ships maintain position, he ordered. Don't let them provoke you into firing first. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a base that didn't exist on any map, Commander Mary Roberts walked through the massive launch bay of humanity's most powerful warship. The EVF Prometheus was bigger than anything humans had ever built, its black hull stretching nearly 2 miles long. "Status report," she called out to her crew as she entered the bridge. The room was circular, with holographic displays showing every detail of the situation in space. "All systems green," her first officer replied. "The Alliance fleet hasn't moved. They seem confused by our ships." Mary smiled as she sat in the command chair. For 50 years, humanity had worked in secret to build this ship. While the world above went about its daily life, engineers and scientists from every nation had poured their knowledge into creating the ultimate defender of Earth. "Begin launch sequence," she ordered. "Let's show our visitors what humans are really capable of." In space, Admiral Gray was trying to make sense of the human fleet. His sensors couldn't penetrate their hulls, couldn't identify their weapons, couldn't even tell what they were made of. Everything about them was wrong. "Sir," his sensor officer suddenly called out. Massive energy spike detected in Earth's Pacific Ocean. The sea itself seemed to bulge upward. A circle of water 2 miles wide rose into the air, held back by invisible force fields. From the center, something dark began to emerge. First came the bow, rising like a mountain of black metal. Then the main body, water cascading off energy shields that glowed with a faint blue light. Finally, the engines, massive rings that pulsed with power no Alliance ship could match. The Prometheus rose into the sky, its size making even the largest ships in either fleet look tiny in comparison. As it took its position at the head of Earth's fleet, every human ship lined up behind it in perfect formation. On the Alliance flagship, Admiral Gray stared at the monster ship with his mouth open. What is that thing?" His science officer's voice shook as he answered. It's bigger than any ship ever built. The power readings, they're off the scale. Sir, that single ship could probably fight our entire fleet alone." Inside the Prometheus, Commander Roberts watched the Alliance fleet's reaction with satisfaction. "Open a channel to all ships," she ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves properly." Her message went out to every ship in space. "This is Commander Mary Roberts of the Earth Defense Force ship Prometheus. You came to our world thinking we were primitive. You threatened us, thinking we were weak. Now you see our true strength." She paused, letting her words sink in. The Prometheus represents 50 years of human innovation. Every nation on Earth worked together in secret to build her. She carries weapons you can't imagine and defenses you can't breach. She is humanity's answer to threats like you. On his flagship, Admiral Gray felt the fear in his crew's thoughts. The human ship dwarfed anything the Alliance had ever built. Its very existence proved that everything they thought they knew about Earth was wrong. "Your move, Admiral," Commander Roberts continued. "You can retreat now. Report to your leaders that Earth is not to be trifled with. Or you can attack and learn exactly what the Prometheus can do. Choose carefully." The Alliance ships began to shift position nervously. None of their weapons were designed to fight something so massive. None of their tactics had planned for this. Admiral Gray looked at his tactical display again. The human ship hung there like a dark star, surrounded by its fleet, defending its world. In all his years of service, he had never felt so outmatched. The greatest warship ever built waited silently for his decision, while humanity watched to see what the aliens would do next. Admiral Gray made his decision. He couldn't retreat, not with the largest fleet in Alliance history under his command. His pride wouldn't allow it. "All ships, battle formation," he ordered. "Target their supership. Fire everything we have." 300 Alliance ships opened fire at once. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and missile swarms filled space, all heading toward the Prometheus. The attack was so massive it looked like a new sun had been born between the fleets. Commander Roberts sat calmly in her command chair. "Shields at full power," she ordered. "Let them see what they're really dealing with." The storm of weapons hit the Prometheus's shields, and nothing happened. The massive ship didn't even shake. Its shields glowed slightly brighter, turning the hostile fire into harmless light. "Impossible," Admiral Gray shouted. "That was enough firepower to crack a planet." On the Prometheus's bridge, Roberts checked her displays. "Shield power at 99.9%, she reported. "They didn't even scratch us." She turned to her weapons officer. "Show them what a real attack looks like." The Prometheus's main guns moved. They were strange devices that looked like grains of light. As they powered up, the space around them seemed to bend. "Target their front line only," Roberts commanded. "Minimum power. We're here to teach them a lesson, not destroy them." The rings spun faster and faster. Then they fired. What came out wasn't energy or plasma. It was something new. Beams of pure white light that twisted space itself. 10 Alliance ships were hit. Their shields, the strongest in the known galaxy, lasted less than a second. The ships didn't explode. They just stopped existing. Where mighty warships had been, now there was only empty space. Panic spread through the Alliance fleet. Nothing in their experience had prepared them for this. Their best weapons couldn't touch the human ship, and its weapons ignored their strongest defenses. "Second wave, full spread," Admiral Gray ordered desperately. His remaining ships fired again, adding their most powerful nuclear weapons to the mix. The Prometheus's shields flared brighter for a moment, absorbing the entire attack. Behind it, Earth's fleet hadn't even moved. They were letting their flagship handle the entire Alliance fleet alone. "Admiral," Roberts called over the comm channel. "That's twice you've attacked us. There won't be a third warning. Stand down, or the next shot won't be on minimum power." Gray looked at his tactical display. In 2 shots, the human ship had destroyed 10 of his best warships. His entire fleet's weapons had done nothing against it, and behind it waited 200 more human ships, each one probably carrying similar weapons. "What are you?" he asked, his voice shaking. "We're humans," Roberts replied simply. "We spent 50 years preparing for this moment. While you thought we were primitives playing with satellites, we were building weapons that could reshape space itself. While you were conquering peaceful worlds, we were making sure no one would ever conquer us." She paused, letting her words sink in. "For 50 years, we watched the stars. We saw what your alliance did to other worlds. So we built the Prometheus. We built weapons you couldn't understand and defenses you couldn't break. And we hid it all, waiting for the day you would come to Earth thinking we were easy prey." The Alliance ships began backing away. Even Admiral Gray could see the truth now. They weren't fighting a primitive species. They were fighting an enemy that had outthought and outplanned them at every step. "Last chance, Admiral," Roberts said. "Retreat or find out what the Prometheus can really do." The Prometheus's main guns began spinning again, power building in their rings. This time, the space around them twisted even more, showing just a fraction of the weapon's true power. Admiral Gray looked at the mighty human ship, its black hull reflecting the light of distant stars, its weapons ready to fire again. He had brought 300 ships to conquer Earth. Now he just hoped he had enough ships left to carry his warning back to the Alliance. He had to tell them what he had learned. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the predator they never saw coming. Admiral Gray's hands shook as he gripped his command chair. The Prometheus loomed before his fleet, its massive black hull blocking out the stars. 10 of his best ships had simply vanished, erased from existence by weapons he couldn't understand. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "their weapon is powering up again. Energy readings they're 5 times higher than the last shot." In the Prometheus's command center, Commander Roberts activated the ship's main broadcast. Her voice echoed through every Alliance vessel. "Since you seem determined to fight, Admiral, let me show you our real weapon, the Quantum Cascade Cannon." The massive rings on the Prometheus's hull began to spin faster than before. Space itself seemed to twist around them, reality bending as raw power built up in the weapon. "All Alliance ships," Roberts announced. "You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons. This is your final warning." Admiral Gray stood frozen. His pride told him to fight, to show these humans the might of the Alliance. But the cold fear in his heart told him something else. They were facing an enemy that had planned for this moment for 50 years. An enemy that had built weapons that ignored all known laws of physics. "Sir," his science officer screamed, "the energy readings. It's like they're tearing a hole in space itself." The rings on the Prometheus spun faster and faster, creating a vortex of pure energy. Light bent around the ship, stars seeming to move in impossible ways. 20 seconds, Roberts counted down. "Power down your weapons, or witness what humans can really do when we're threatened." In that moment, Admiral Gray saw the truth. The humans hadn't built the Prometheus to fight a war. They had built it to make war impossible, to create a weapon so powerful that no one would dare attack Earth after seeing it. 10 seconds. Panic spread through the Alliance fleet. Ships began powering down their weapons without orders. Crews who had never known fear felt it deep in their souls as they watched space itself bend around the human vessel. 5 seconds. "Power down all weapons." Gray finally ordered. "All ships, power down now." But 3 ships, commanded by younger, more aggressive captains, decided to attack instead. They launched their most powerful weapons at the Prometheus. The quantum cascade cannon fired. A beam of pure white light shot out, but this wasn't like the previous attacks. This beam split into multiple streams, each one targeting a different attacker. When it hit the first ship, the beam didn't just destroy it. It erased everything in a sphere around it. Ships, space debris, even the energy weapons they had just fired, all vanished into nothingness. Where there had been 3 Alliance warships and their weapons, now there was only empty space. Not wreckage, not explosion marks, just nothing. Complete silence fell across both fleets. Even the most hardened Alliance warriors felt their blood run cold. They had just witnessed something that shouldn't be possible, a weapon that could erase matter from existence itself. Commander Roberts' voice came through again, softer now. That was the quantum cascade cannon at 15% power. Would anyone like to see what it does at full power? No one moved. No one spoke. The Alliance fleet hung motionless in space, their weapons powered down, their crews gripped by a fear they had never known before. Admiral Gray found his voice at last. We surrender." "No, Admiral," Roberts replied. "We don't want your surrender. We want you to leave. Go back to your Alliance. Tell them what you saw here. Tell them about the Prometheus. Tell them what happens when they threaten humanity." The Alliance ships began to turn, slowly at first, then faster as their fear drove them to retreat. As they fled, Admiral Gray looked back one last time at the human supership. The Prometheus hung in space, its black hull now reflecting Earth's sun, its quantum cascade cannon still glowing with power. It was no longer just a ship to him. It was humanity's message to the galaxy. "We are not weak. We are not primitive. And if you threaten us, we will show you what true fear feels like." 1 month after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy had changed forever. News of the Prometheus and its impossible weapons spread through every world in the Alliance. The story grew with each telling, how a supposedly primitive species had revealed technology that defied the laws of physics, how they had defeated the largest Alliance fleet ever assembled with a single ship. In the Alliance's Grand Council chamber, Admiral Gray stood before the assembled leaders of 100 alien species. His voice shook as he played the battle recordings again. "As you can see," he said, pointing to the image of the quantum cascade cannon firing, "their weapons didn't just destroy our ships. They erased them from existence, and that was at minimum power." The council chamber erupted in frightened whispers. An elder member stood up, his scaled skin pale with fear. How? How did they build such weapons in secret? "They spent 50 years preparing," Gray answered. "While we watched their old satellites and primitive space stations, they built underground bases and underwater shipyards. They knew we would come eventually. They made sure they would be ready. On Earth, things were very different. The world president stood at a podium before the United Nations, addressing not just humanity, but representatives from 30 alien worlds, former alliance members who had rushed to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. For half a century, we kept our true strength hidden, she said. We watched as the alliance forced world after world to submit. We knew our turn would come, so we prepared. The Prometheus was humanity's answer to bullies and conquerors. Commander Roberts sat in the audience, listening as the president explained humanity's new role in the galaxy. Around her sat aliens of all shapes and sizes, many from worlds that had suffered under Alliance rule. They looked at her and the other human officers with something between awe and relief. A small, furry alien ambassador approached her after the speech. "My world," he said quietly, "we've been under Alliance control for 300 years. Would Earth consider being our protector instead?" Roberts smiled. This was exactly what they had planned for. "Earth doesn't want to control anyone," she answered, "but we will help protect those who need it." In orbit, the Prometheus hummed like a guardian star, but it was no longer alone. 5 more ships of its class were under construction in the underwater shipyards, not to conquer, but to defend, to make sure no species ever had to fear invasion again. Back in the Alliance Council chamber, a new message arrived from Earth. The world president's hologram appeared before the frightened alien leaders. "For centuries, your alliance has forced weaker species to submit. Today that ends. Earth is establishing the Free World's Protection Fleet. Any world that wishes to leave the alliance will have Earth's protection. Any attempt to stop them will be met with force." The council members looked at each other in shock. This wasn't just a single world defending itself. This was the birth of a new power in the galaxy. Admiral Gray watched their reactions and remembered the fear he had felt facing the Prometheus. "Earth doesn't want war," he told them. "They could have destroyed our entire fleet. Instead, they showed mercy. They only want to protect others from what we tried to do to them." As if to emphasize his point, reports began flooding in. 20 more worlds had declared their independence from the Alliance. Each one had formally requested Earth's protection. The balance of power that had stood for 1,000 years was changing in a single day. In Earth orbit, Commander Roberts stood on the Prometheus's observation deck, watching her world below. Her first officer joined her, holding a data pad. "More requests for protection," he reported. 15 new worlds in the last hour. They all want to send ambassadors. Roberts nodded. 50 years of preparation, she said quietly, not just to defend ourselves, but to change the galaxy, to show that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our ships. "What is it then?" her officer asked. She smiled as another diplomatic ship approached Earth. "Our greatest strength is knowing when to hide our power, when to reveal it, and how to use it to protect others instead of controlling them." The sun rose over Earth's horizon, its light reflecting off the Prometheus's hull. A new day was dawning, not just for humanity, but for every species that had ever dreamed of being free.